Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Twin Elephant, one of my favorite breweries in all of New Jersey. Love the tap room, love their beers. Dig on that place every time I go. But I don't get to get out there too much. They're in Chatham, New Jersey, I believe. Yep, Chatham, New Jersey. Which is not super far away from Newark, which is the reason why I have this in front of you today. Because I had to pick up my brother-in-law from Newark Airport. And for those that don't know, airport pickup in New Jersey / New York is a nightmare. So the easiest way to accomplish that, get yourself about 20 minutes away. When that person lands, go pick them up. That's my advice to you. And always go to the departures. Or arrival. Departure, sorry. So, find a place nice 20 minutes away from the airport. Settle up, belly up, tell that person to text you when they're off the plane. And then usually that timing usually works out. About 20 minutes, and then you roll right up to departures. They're in arrivals, but you come out of departures, easy peasy. Anyway, I was there, and I had a couple beers. I had two. I wasn't there for super long. But I saw this. Thai tea. Thai tea, it's a pub British style lager. Okay, 5.8%. That's my kind of jam. But on the board that they had, it says contain lactose. So I that's kind of weird. A pub lager, British lager with lactose in it, just sounds kind of weird to me. But it also kind of makes sense in my brain because I like tea. I had a raging tea addiction. I still drink tea, but I've got it under control. But my mom was off the boat from Scotland. She is a tea drinker. Tea, milk, a little bit of sugar. Most people don't drink tea like that, except for, I guess, English people, maybe? I don't know. So that's how I drank mine. So the idea of having a soft little bit of lactose and something that I assume is going to be very tea forward. You're talking about tannic tea like kind of vibes in a lot of British ales to begin with. So a little lactose, it can make sense in my brain. So I'm curious. Let's dive into this sucker. See where we end up. So today is the 9th. This was crowlered on the 7th. Usually not one of those people. I'm usually, if I want crowlers done either in front of me, if not in front of me, I want them done the same day. But we're going to be adventurous here. So, where are my cloths cleaning? Because I get crap everywhere. Let's use these. None of these will work. Logo-wise, I really like Twin Elephant's vibes, what they do with their can art and the whole 9, their logo. I'm a fan. As far as the beer goes, it looks like cask beer. Honestly, it looks like a British lager. A little bit of haze to it. That straw with an orange touch to it. Index finger. Soapy, creamy edge to it. We're off to a very proper start. Does it look like tea? Not my kind of tea, but let's see what the nose has to offer. Okay. I mean, when I think of tea, let's preface this first. Let's define it. I think of classic red rose, orange pico, black tea mixture. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's my tea. Like, they're classic. Just generic, not, I don't know, even Lipton for a certain extent, but for me it was always red rose. And in that combination you really do get here. You get a nice kind of soft little tannic kind of hoppiness on it. Little fuggles, little golding, something along those lines. And honestly, it's very prominent, so I don't think it's a matter of them putting the idea of the suggestion in my brain by naming it that. I really do think there is a nice big tannic hop tea-like kind of process to it. I wonder if they added anything else to it. You figure they would have mentioned it on the can, or the crowler, or at the tap room. And then you get the soft sweetness. Is it milk-like? Well, I think that what they're going for here is more like a Thai tea, literally on the nose, where they do that kind of heavy milked kind of tea. Again, British, drinking my tea that way. That's my kind of mindset I'm going into it, and it kind of meets that for a little bit. So it's kind of unique. I didn't think we'd get there that quickly, at least aromatically, just that alone, but we are. So let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. That's an interesting beer, man. And tasty, too. A beer can be very interesting and not all that tasty, and it can be very tasty and not all that interesting. This pulls off the combo. I'm actually kind of really, I bought this, I didn't buy it as a goof. I just found the concept interesting. Didn't know what to really expect from it. And what I'm getting is almost spot on what I kind of assumed in my own brain it would be, which would be that classic kind of British tea-like vibe in a straight kind of cask, kind of pub-style lager with a soft, that lactose adding as that little bit of bumped up sweetness. It doesn't come off milk-like. It's not like a lactose milkshake kind of beer. But when you get those nice tannic tea-like, fugly, Ken Golding, that kind of hop on top of that really nice malt base, but then that malt base has a nice little nuttiness, a nice little crackeriness to it, brings a little bit of extra to the table. You throw that little dose of lactose on top of it. It adds that shaved edge that we all love so much when it comes to hazy IPA or heavily oated beers, where it gives you that soft little, like, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of lactose kind of vibe. But here, instead of being that thing where it makes the beer ultra soft, it's that little counterbalance of sweetness that you're getting from those tannic tea-like kind of hops. It almost tastes to the point where you feel like there's actual tea in it. I've had my fair share of tea beers. This one actually are beers with tea in them. And this actually comes off quite a bit more omnipresent than those, at least from like a tea, again, that orange pico, black tea kind of combination, that classic tea-like kind of vibe. It's just built on a really well done small little pub lager. That lactose dose that I was super questionable about. Again, interesting, and also how they're gonna pull it off. They did. They pulled it off perfectly. It has that cool little touch of sweetness that makes this probably one of the better and more interesting beers I've had in quite some time. This is really, really good stuff from a couple different aspects. Is it one of the better English-style beers that I've had as late? I don't think we're getting Mount Rushmore status on this one, but it's very tasty and interesting. It's when you start to dig a little bit deeper into what it really is and how it turns me on, that's where it gets really fun. Because it's... I think if you're just a little bit this way or a little bit that way on either the malt, that lactose dose, the way the hops kind of come off, I think this thing can be an abject train wreck. I think it can be something that is just not good and sentence. But they nail it. They absolutely nailed it. And to go into it expecting something kind of like this, but then have it kind of elevate beyond that and come off as not just a super, again, at the beginning, what I said, not just a super interesting beer, but a very tasty one at that. That's a hard trick to pull off. A very hard trick to pull off. Twin Elephant's done it. Listen, I've had my fair share of misses from Twin Elephant, one of my favorite breweries. I said that to get. I will go there. I will buy their beers. I dig them. But there's been, some oxidation issues with some hazies and some things that just haven't landed for me because they try weird shit like this from time to time, especially in tap room only. And while I never have a bad beer from them, maybe just a little bit off here and there. For the most part, most of their stuff is very tasty. But I've rarely had, not just from them, but for anybody, take this weird of a cut on something, and at least for this guy, absolutely nail it in a very cool way. Because you take, again, to wrap up the beer, we should talk about that a little bit more. To take that classic pub style, British style lager, pub ale concept, bump up those hops to get it a little bit more tea-like, add that cool little nutty malt thing, and then dose that with that lactose and get that little bit of trade-off of that sweetness that is softer than what you get from a typical malt. I think it's actually a genius move and one of the cooler, more interesting beers I've had. That in itself is Mount Rushmore status. Done and done. This is tasty AF. How about that shit? Anyway, I don't know what else to tell you. Is it one of the better lactose British pub lagers that I've had as of late? Again, like I said, Mount Rushmore, an interesting and very tasty beer. I would buy this all the time. 10 out of 10 would drink. Value and availability, I don't remember what I paid. I usually get a little hookup there, so I don't know what their crowlers go for. But brewery only, and leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like pub ales and you have an open mind, and an idea of that lactose doesn't make you get all hot and bothered because it's such a traditional style, I think this is a really ultra cool combination. that not just they pulled it off, but I don't think anybody's pulled it off ever. Not that I've had anything like this before, but I don't see people making this stuff. And if they are making it and making this well, then you tell me who they are, because I want more. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Twin Elephant. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had the beers? Have you had this beer? That's a very, very important question to ask. I went on Untapped because I wanted to try to find out as much info on this as I could. I couldn't find anything. It's like 38 total global check-ins ever. So it's either a super new beer, or not a lot of people are drinking it and checking it in. Got decent reviews. I wouldn't really look at that, but I'm really curious if any of you out there have had this or anything similar to this from other breweries. Let me know down there. All that fun stuff. What's your favorite Twin Elephant beer? Put that down there. Maybe a little chimney, something like that. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying something as interesting as this sucker. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.